All right, we got Spider-Man 2. Insomniac talks the evolution of their tech.
You have the strength to finish what you started.
One of the great things about having the last two games is that it gives
I gotta
us
go
a
to
lot
bed
of
after this.
confidence, a lot of knowledge about what works. And
I got work
we can
tomorrow.
take that and we can start to push forward into new places. This is really the first one where we have two Spider-Men in the game at the same time. And so allowing them to have those divergent abilities that are a little bit different, that you have to know what you're getting into with each one, that you can solve different problems a little bit differently in combat.
Are they talking about this combat again?
Both characters have a really strong arc, and we invest a lot into their story for each of them. And so I think, you know, playing the game, you'll definitely see that each of them is in the right place. They have their own abilities. We present opportunities to the player to leverage their unique abilities as you go through each of those missions. And you know, I think that it.
What is he sitting on?
Spider-Man for the mission.
You're not getting away that easy.
What is that?
I think there's still always that struggle for some of the characters. I mean, you can't have Spider-Man without him trying to balance between his personal life and his spider life. And so, you know, I think for Peter, you know, he's in a position where he's trying to find a way. You know, he basically lost his job at the end of end of the first game, right, when Otto's lab shut down. And so he's trying to find how to move forward after May's death, and how to, you know, kind of put his life back together, you know, on the personal side. And so there's a lot of, you know, there's struggle for him there, and moving forward with some of those things. On the Miles side, you know, he's just about to graduate from high school, and he's got to figure out what he's going to do. And he's got this Spider-Man thing that's a growing part of his life, but what is he going to do with the rest of it? And so how he interacts and how he makes choices there, what he's trying to figure out, you know, the next phase of his life looks like.
We know how Spider-Man goes, bro. What you mean?
But as Miles Morales, and what that means for him. And you know, he's got his family around, he's got his friends around, and how they, you know, interact with him and play with that.
I'm just here to save my friend.
I don't want to get too much into, you know, like where we end up going with Venom for the most part, but I will say that it was really important for us to tell the right story.
Good.
How the symbiote impacts Peter's life.
Okay.
We obviously show early, or at the end of the first game, and hear that there's some connection with the symbiote and Harry, and how they're trying to heal his sickness. And so what we really wanted to focus on was making sure that it felt like how the symbiote was interacting with Peter, and what that took him on, and the journey that he had to go through, and how that symbiote brings something out in him that maybe he hadn't exposed or hadn't really thought about much. And so for us, what we let that drive our choices. And part of, you know, Eddie Brock is a fantastic character, you know, and everything, but for us, it was really about figuring out how the symbiote and Peter interacted, and how that
they brought Eddie Brock to the game, though, right? I hope.
Having things like the symbiote abilities for Peter that kind of come in, that you can use strategically, that you can use as kind of a power move that didn't exist in the previous game, as a way that we can really allow players to express themselves, to have solutions to problems that, you know, might have existed in the last game that they didn't have good solutions for, and had to use just base systems. So they can express themselves in a lot of new ways. Some other things that we really look for by introducing the parry mechanic and that defensive mechanic, we were able to really leverage that. It was really amazing to see what that did for our boss fights. So if you played the game today, you got a little taste of what the lizard fight might look like, and being able to have that one-on-one fight and have them force you to pay attention, to read the fight, to understand what the boss is doing, and to know which defensive move you have to use at the time, to know when to use your offensive moves. And the fact that every one of our bosses can respond to all of those abilities that the players have, means that you're getting a better fight. You're getting a deeper fight, a more mechanically sound
I'll give them that, that's true.
It is really allowing players to have those intimate fights that are really climatic. They still have great narrative driving every single one of them, but just the mechanics and the gameplay of it also is really, really satisfying, and really gives us the opportunity to do that in a much better way. And then traversal, you know, it's just adding things like the gliding with the web wings, adding things like the
slingshot. I mean, we've seen so much of this.
Integrate together, and again, just
they promoted the crap out of that. What's that, Yaksha?
And so one of the things that we do in this game is, you know, we doubled the size of the city. So we've now got Brooklyn and Queens there, right?
Keep on bringing that up.
Brooklyn and Queens they're not built like Manhattan is. You know, they're a lot lower. They've got a lot more trees, a lot of things like that. And then you've got the river in between. And we say, well, how do you traverse all of that? You know, you can just swing, but it doesn't always work. It's not always the optimal way to do it. And so
we are reacting to Spider-Man 2 Insomniac talking about the evolution of their tech.
As I go around the city and go around the different places.
Yeah, so we're just finishing up reacts.
Really new and really interesting, and gives each of those two new boroughs kind of a new feel to how you experience it while still being Spider-Man.
I'm still I'm not over the fact that this dude is on like a Viking
everything we do
throne.
Builds on each other and makes our next game better. And so, you know, we had a lot of streaming stuff and everything from building open world games, and then we go into Ratchet, and all of a sudden we're like, well, now we want to just jump instantly, right? And so you get those things. You hit
we finished all of Boston
from world to world, and we want to drop and
been done with that
thing and figure out how the mechanics of all of that.
We've been on Skypea for a hot minute.
Then we say, well, how can we use that? How can we use that in the next game? And so when we came into it, and we looked at what the team was doing on Ratchet, and we looked at what we could do in this game, we said, well, they can jump, we can jump. You know, we've got all this technology, and so just moving it forward in that way definitely
I don't want to hear it.
Inspired us and allowed us to keep building. We've built so much new tech to take advantage of the PS5, and
I don't know if I can play Ratchet.
That like our long views in this game are such a level up over what they were in the previous game. Because we put so much effort into tech for those views, for what those distant buildings look like, for adding new LEDs of those distant buildings, for making sure that our skyboxes and our atmospheres look fantastic, that we doubled the size of the city and still had to keep everything in memory, and still had to make it so that when you fast travel, we can load where you're going to be in just instantly in under a second as you go in there. We've got our distant building system, which is our imposter system that we draw, and that's been upgraded to have new LEDs and things that we stream in. That's again the PS5 allowing us to swap that stuff out on the fly. We've done
Why do they keep saying the PS5 is allowing them to do these things? You could do these things on a PC.
What
I know that, right?
Lighting looks like and how that works and what the material responses are. We've gotten a better handle on ray tracing and more things being able to be ray traced and supported. We've got new things with our skyboxes in this game.
I think this is like their fight against Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, hey, look at what the PlayStation allows us to do. Stuff that your Xbox won't allow you to do.
And so, you know, we've got additional things.
But it's like PC allows you to do it too.
What we've done with just the way that we leverage, you know, Houdini and procedural generation to get our ground planes and stuff looking great. So there's all kinds of elements, not to mention just how our characters look, how everything else looks that come into play to bring it together and make it really look next gen. And I feel like even looking at the remastered game, when we've played, you know, when I've been playing Spider-Man 2 for so long, and I go back and look at some of the old games. I'm like,
yeah, the PS5 controller has new features
until you see it next to each other,
which is cool.
You know, when you really A/B test it, you're like, wow,
but we're talking about PC
jump in terms of fidelity, in terms
and
of
run anything,
in terms of just how clean everything looks.
Such a beautiful creature. I got you.
Once again, Spider-Man 2 looks really good, but I will not be playing it because I don't own a PlayStation, so have fun.